Today on the 1012 Picks Pod, myself and Chase A. Kiddy are joined by another BetMGM pro in PJ Glasser to make picks for every Big 12 game on Week 8's slate. That includes the Revivalry, the Holy War, and some really interesting games. Plus, we got to talk about the Big 12's job on Twitter. Bravo. Bravo.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible. Financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Welcome to the 1012 Picks Pod, where every week myself and Chase A. Kiddy from BetMGM and a guest make picks for every Big 12 game on the schedule. 1012 Podcast is, of course, the flagship show of the 1012 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com, TEN12, the word network. We are also partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. Wherever you are listening, please do us a favor. 5 stars in a review. It does a huge, huge help for the show. It just takes you a couple of minutes, and we would appreciate it, especially if you're a longtime listener and have not done so yet. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, like the video, subscribe. It would be very, very helpful. What a show we have for you today. Man, it would just we all get on here early, out of the gate, talking about the fact that I'm an OU grad, for those who don't know, because every podcast is someone's first. Chase talking about some stinky prop, and I don't know if that's a player prop or just some weird thing that he's got off camera that we're going to find out about. But before we get to all those random things, very excited to have our guest today. I feel like, Chase, you should introduce him because he's technically your guest on the show. You're the one who brought him on for us this week because I was like, I don't have a guest. Chase, do us a favor. So, Chase, why don't you tell us about your friend PJ here?
Well, I mean, I can't introduce the man better than he can, but I will say my favorite thing about talking football, especially college football with PJ, is probably 30% of our conversations are so incredibly boring because it is spooky how accurate, like how similarly we see the board. And I was doing PJ's show a month ago and he started talking about Delaware. And I was like, who else is on Delaware but PJ and I in all of America? It's just, we just, our brains work so similarly. So that's my favorite thing about talking with PJ. Great handicap.
I appreciate it.
PJ.
Yeah, it's great
PJ
to be on with you
Glasser.
guys.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, Phillip, I was going to say good to meet you. Nice to have Chase. Yeah, welcome me on the podcast. Good to meet you guys. Well, good to meet you, Phillip. Good to see Chase, other than when I have him on my show every Wednesday at 1 p.m. But appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime we talk college football, always a good time.
Just to be clear,
I don't
Chase,
keep stats on this. I think this is the first DMV episode of 1012.
Okay. Does Phillip know what DMV means?
Probably not. He's a
No.
good Midwestern boy.
No. I mean, other than, the place you don't want to wait in line at.
Right.
So for our Midwestern people, DMV around these parts are DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So PJ is up in Maryland. It really doesn't refer to Richmond. I'm kind of cheating by including Richmond. But, I'm on the Virginia side at least, which brings me to, I do have a little bit of business I need to follow up with PJ on. PJ, my in-laws are from Maryland.
Okay.
Big Ravens people. That's where some of the Orioles connections come from. We picked crabs on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
It's now Wednesday, so it's several days later. Is it okay for me to eat this after we finish podcasting tonight? Is this kosher in your Maryland opinion?
Absolutely. Dude,
Okay.
I'm impressed
crab.
you're eating crabs in October, but yeah, I'm sure it's delicious.
All right. It's great. My sister-in-law has the hookup. She knows a guy.
Are you more of a crab guy or a lobster guy, you think?
Crab, for sure. Love picking crabs.
I would probably agree. I would say. But that's awesome that that's your big prop, I would assume.
I have just a bag of crabs here. I have several crabs sitting on my desk while we record this podcast.
It's fantastic.
It's a small
No-
room and the door is closed. It's going to get weird fast in here.
The no context graphic this week's already off to a phenomenal start with bag of crabs.
Yeah.
So does that mean you could be my crab guy? If your sister has a crab guy, that means that you kind of like have a crab guy, and then you could be my crab guy. Can you get crabs to Arkansas?
We'll get you over here to the East Coast, Phil.
Okay.
We'll show you a good time over here.
Crabs, not an official sponsor of the podcast. Maybe one day they will be. Okay, PJ, do us a favor. Tell us a little bit about betting for you. What's your? You can choose one of two doors. Door number A is your betting philosophy. Door number B is a piece of betting advice you like to offer to people.
The thing I always tell people is when it comes to sports betting is to separate your sports knowledge from your gambling knowledge. Now, what does that mean, right? It's great to like know things. It's great to be knowledgeable about sports that you want to bet, but you also have to understand line movement. You have to understand betting splits. You have to understand situational spots. You have to understand when a team might have a letdown or a look ahead, like all these different things, right? I know this is a college football show, but like the Chiefs-Lions game on Sunday night was like a perfect kind of prediction of that, right? Where you look at that line, the Chiefs are favored by 2.5, and all week on Twitter, all I saw was, how are the Lions underdogs in this game? Like, the Lions might be the best team in football. You know, they're on fire. Like, how are the Chiefs laying 2.5 at home? So it's those kind of things, right? Odds makers are way smarter than all of us. Whatever you think of going into a game, I promise you they're thinking of, and it's part of the number and why they place a certain number the way that they do. So that's always my advice to people. You know, I think people just look at a game a lot of times and they're like, oh, well, this team's better than this team, and I think they're going to win by that many points. So sure, I'll bet them, not understanding why is the line the way that it is, or is this team playing their third straight road game, or is this team coming off of an upset as a 20-point underdog, whole bunch of things. So that's always the advice I give people. Separate your sports knowledge from your betting knowledge, because there's definitely a difference between the two.
I like that. That's how I do things. So, and I always tell people don't follow my advice. So maybe I should also abandon the I don't understand why this team is favored, but that's good. No, that's good advice. That's good advice. Listen, as we tell everybody on here, all advice is taken with a grain of salt. So use it at your best. And we would suggest if you have never betted before and felt like jumping in, you should join Battle Bets, because that way you can do it without spending any real money, and you'll be better off, and your wife won't be mad that you're like, why did you drop $100? I don't actually spend $100.
This is an incredibly specific example.
Right? And yet, completely off the top of my head. Okay. Speaking of off the top, I love my conference. I love the Big 12. Forget the fact that they gave me a great guest that I retorted with this afternoon. The episode will drop on, or interview will drop on Monday about the Big 12's international strategy. Very excited about that one. But, we love when social accounts are allowed to have personality. And the Big 12 had one this week. If you missed it because you were, living under a rock, on Tuesday, Brent Venables, the head coach for the University of Oklahoma, former member of the Big 12 Conference, was doing his press conference and said, quote, this isn't the old, about, the SEC being a one-possession league, quote, this isn't the old Big 12 days where Oklahoma destroys everybody every single week except one game a year. And so the Big 12 pulled a George Stoya quote or tweet about that and said, Coach Venables lost 8 conference games in his 2 seasons in the Big 12. First of all, because nationally, everyone's on the side of the Big 12, bravo for putting this. And simultaneously, you got every single OU fan and OU media member all up in a tizzy with their panties in a bunch, writing articles about how that was unprofessional and uncalled for, pulling out facts were not related to Brent Venables about OU's time in the Big 12 Conference, as if that has anything to do with calling out the fact that Brent Venables didn't win a Big 12 championship, trying to point out Brent Venables' air quotes Big 12 titles. He was DC. Those are Bob Stoops titles, not Brent Venables. They don't count when you're a coordinator towards your tenure as the head coach of a school. I mean, for a fan base that has tried to just distance itself from the Big 12, they got real salty about a tweet that listed nothing but facts. Nothing but facts. And I, for one, loved every single second of it. And I'm still enjoying it immensely.
I don't have anything to add on that other than it's so rare to see somebody go at their own alma mater like that, Phillip. I'm a little flabbergasted that you would do that.
Listen, the degree and the fandom are two different things. Okay. I guess it's just harder. It's just easier to graduate from OU than Oklahoma State. I guess that's the takeaway. Is that a slight insult to myself? Possibly. Totally worth it. Absolutely, totally worth it. Okay. We'll move on from that. That feels like a good stopping point. We do got to dive into what happened last week. Chase, congratulations. You won last week, going 5-3 on the week. The hits were Colorado +3 versus Iowa State, over 55.5 in Kansas State TCU, Texas Tech -14, USC -2.5 versus Michigan, and we had another consensus win. We all picked Utah -4.5. We all got that one. We're now 4-6 when the two of us and guest are in consensus. Very interesting. So 5-3 on the week, 34-32-1, back above 500 on the season so far, sir.
Not just that. I was so inspired by Chris's appearance on the show that I just went ahead and won the 1012 Battle Bets League for the week. So there's that too.
Pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Good. I went 500 last week, going 4-4. Hit on the under 54 in Cincinnati UCF. Hit on Kansas State +1.5 versus TCU. Hit on Texas Tech -14, of course, the Utah -4.5. The misses were the under 46.5 in Oklahoma State Houston, Iowa State -2.5, Arizona +2, and that one just kind of got away from it. And Michigan State -8.5 versus UCLA. I did not take into account that this is a UCLA team who apparently was being so held back by their head coach that they just were the Keystone Cops of college football, and now seem to at least be competent, which is incredible. I mean, an absolute incredible turnaround. 4-4 on the week, 31-36 on the season thus far. And of course, our guest Chris he also went 4-4. So congrats to Chris at 500. That is not a losing record. That's 2 straight weeks without a losing record for our guest. Hit on Houston -14.5. Hit on the under 59.5 in Texas Tech, Kansas. There was 59 points in that game total. Congratulations on that one. Hit on BYU -1.5, and of course Utah -4.5. The misses were Florida State -10.5 versus Pitt. The Pitt hate did not work last week. Under 55.5 in Kansas State TCU, Iowa State -2.5 versus Colorado, and Cincinnati -10.5 versus UCF. That was stupid. 4-4 on the week, 26-37 on the season for our guests. So PJ, plenty of opportunity here to help keep bringing that total up now. It's 2 straight weeks, 500 or better. Listen, you can do this. You can do this.
I hope so. Hopefully I don't bring you guys down. Yeah, it was an interesting week. I think the Kansas State score was the biggest surprise to me. That line was probably the fishiest of all the Big 12 games. The fact it was like a pick 'em all week. TCU took some late money. But Kansas State, I mean, they've just played everybody close all year. So it's not necessarily that they won that was super surprising, but that they just won like pretty convincingly. I was surprised by. And then Texas Tech just like continues to impress. I thought maybe Kansas could keep it interesting and give them a game. And, you know, when Morton got hurt, Kansas started to come back towards the end of the first half. But that defense has been as advertised. I mean, all that money they invested in that defense and that front four has paid off, man. They're the real deal. They haven't given up more than 17 points in a game all season. So excited to see what they do this week against Arizona State. And I think it's just fans, you know, hopefully Leavitt plays, because if Jeff Sims does, I mean, forget it. It'll be a blowout.
We will talk about that game here shortly. It is among, of course, all the picks that we're going to make today. So, I mean, at that, Chase, any final thoughts?
Just ready to keep the train moving. Last year, I don't think I finished above 500, right, for the year. I mean, it's insane to finish anywhere near 500 if you bet an entire conference for an entire season. So I don't think I did.
You were 58-61 last year.
That's even closer.
And won 58-61-1. I finished 62-58.
Yeah. So feel pretty strong about where we're at right now. I like the direction.
Yeah. So far, so good. So far, so good. All right. Well, time for another winning week. You guys ready to do this?
I am. I have to say off the top as we go into the first game here, I think this is my least favorite week of the season in terms of just, I hate this board. I hate everything on it. I'm excited to just dunk on all these games as we go one by one through the schedule because I don't like anything.
All right, so why don't you just, since you are such a crab aficionado, you can describe each game this week based off of like what kind of crab you would eat it if it was a crab or not. Okay?
I like that.
Mustard game of the week.
Okay.
It's a crab
All
joke.
right.
If you haven't picked crabs, that didn't make any sense to you.
All right. We do this the same way every week. We go in chronological order. No weeknight games this week for the Big 12. Everything is on Saturday. Colorado, Iowa State, Kansas, and Kansas State are all idle. So we've got 6 Big 12 games. And of course, we'll wrap things up with our non-Big 12 game of the week and maybe talk about a few other games on the schedule as well, because I have some questions and thoughts about a few of them. We are going to start with, I think the most difficult game to pick this weekend, in my opinion. We're heading to Houston. We've got the Houston Cougars versus the Arizona Wildcats in Houston. 11 a.m. kickoff, God's time, FS1. Arizona currently a 1 to a 1.5 point favorite in this one. Chase, you won last week. That means you get first dibs, sir. What would you like to do here?
Yeah, it feels like for the 4th or 5th time this year, I looked at a Houston game and said to myself, I don't know, I guess the under. And I do my due diligence on these games. And so I was looking at, ATS records for Houston and Arizona. I'm looking at the over-under splits for both teams. And Houston's actually 4-2 to the over this year, which I think is because people look at their games and have the same reaction I just described. It's, I don't know, I guess I'll bet the under. And then that depresses the market and you end up getting overs out of it. So all that said, I'm still betting the under because I don't know what else to do with this game. I don't feel particularly strong about a side. It feels to me like Arizona is going to be pretty comfortable letting its back end just like play straight up and not really help a lot and say, hey, we're gonna play heavy box against you. Like come get us, come beat us with your lame passing game, Houston. And then, I think what you're going to get out of Houston defensively. So I think this is just going to be an awful, watchable, ugly, low-scoring game. I lean very, very slightly toward Arizona because of how I described like what I think Houston's offensive challenges are going to be going against Arizona's defense and particularly the back end. But it's just miserable game in my opinion. It's really selling the Big 12, I know, but I don't know how else this game could play out. If this is a shootout, like I would be shocked, right? I would be so shocked. More than maybe any other game so far this season.
Listen, not all close games are good, and not all ugly games are bad. So that is the beauty of college football. Let me run through the numbers for everybody real quick. As far as the total goes, I think I lean towards your side, though only one projection. I got you a 46.5, by the way. There's a couple books have that one that I see, or maybe just one. No, there's two. Both BetMGM and FanDuel have a 46.5. As far as totals go, Tishu has a 46. Everybody else, Parker's got a 46.8. Everyone else is close. 47.9, 47.7, 48.44, and a 49. So the line is right on the right spot as far as like if it goes over, it's going to be by 47 points. If it goes under, it might be 45. Who knows? All right. As far as the sides in this one, SP Plus has Houston by 0.8. Tishu's got Arizona by 1.5. FEI has Houston by 0.4. Beta's got Houston by 2.56. Parker's got Arizona 5.2. And Pear has Houston by 0.4. Kelly Ford actually gave this one a 50-50, like right down the middle. Good luck trying to figure out who's going to win this one. So everything is like, yeah, good luck picking a side in this one. You're just going to have to kind of go with your gut here. I will say this. If we're talking about on a neutral field, I completely understand the game plan that you're describing, Chase, and I think Arizona might lean to the right side. I have not liked how Arizona has looked all that much on the road so far this season. I have liked how Houston has played at home. We're going to take the Texas Tech game away from this because you cannot use the Texas Tech game as a comp for anything. They're just that much better than the middle of the Big 12 is this year. And so we're like, well, Houston didn't look very good against Texas Tech. Nobody's looked very good against Texas Tech. So that kind of is not let's get that. It's a data point you've got to take out and set over here. I like Houston better at home. I liked Houston. When they were favored in this game, I was like, I'm going to have to go with the side. The fact that I now can get them as a 1.5 point dog at home, I'll go ahead and ride with the Cougars over the Wildcats in this one. I think the under's the right side. There's just not much wiggle room. And so honestly, as weird as it is, I feel a little bit more comfortable with Houston as a dog than I do trying to take a side on this one because it's like right there split in the middle. PJ, what would you like, sir?
Phillip, I agree with you, sir. I think this is a WTF game. Wrong team favored. I think Houston should be the favorite. I think Houston should be the favorite in the game. They opened the favorite, and then Arizona's taken money, and now they're the small favorite. As you mentioned, I agree with a lot of what you said. Arizona's just not a team that I like on the road. I mean, if you guys remember that Iowa State game at the end of September, they were betting that game like they knew the final score, right? Arizona took all that money. People were waiting for the Iowa State regression. They were a week early on it, but they liked Arizona as the team to do it, and the Wildcats just did not show up. So Arizona in these kind of games, like these pick'em type games, a lot of the times it feels like they're the right side. The line is telling you that they're the right side. And more often than not, they just fall short. They should have beaten BYU at home this past week. The Kansas State game was a lot closer than it should have been. They dominated that game. And I agree with you, just getting Houston at home. I think Willie Fritz is a really good coach. I think this kind of game, when I would agree with Chase, I would lean the under, if anything, like a low-scoring game. I think you have to favor Houston in that type of games. If we're going to get an under-type game, I would favor Houston. The fact that they're at home, it's an early kick. I'll take the Cougars plus 1.5.
It's wild that this is just Houston's second road game of the season. We're all the way into week 8, and they played one game away from Tucson. All 3 non-cons were at home. You went to Iowa State, and you've played 3 conference home games against Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and BYU. I mean, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Okay. I still think it's going to be a good game to watch, so I would at least keep an eye on it. Also, in the morning, we've got one other great morning game for us. It is a rivalry, the Revivalry, a.k.a. the Blue Mel Homemade Ice Cream Bonnet Flower Battle, or whatever the heck the new name for it is that I'm not going to call it because it's an atrocious name. Oof. This game is back. This rivalry game is back for the 120th time, 16th year in a row. TCU has won 8 of the last 10 meetings, though Baylor won last year, and 4 of the last 5 in Fort Worth. That's relevant because that's where this game is being played this year in Fort Worth. TCU versus Baylor, 11 a.m. on ESPN2. Love a rivalry game. Right now, TCU, a 2.5 to 3 point favorite, depending upon the book, if that matters to you. Total is pretty much 65.5 consensus across the board. I got to go first in this one. Everything favors TCU. Every stat favors TCU by more than the 3 points. I think that the books, and Chase, you can correct me, PJ, you can offer your thoughts on this. I think the books are reacting to the fact that TCU just got blasted by a mediocre to bad Kansas State team and blew a game against Arizona State. And so I think there's some reaction to we don't trust TCU. And I get that. I absolutely understand that. Arizona State's defense is quite good. Kansas State's defense is turning it around this season. Baylor's defense is still butt. Not the butt bowl, but actual butt. It is as stinky as those 5-day-old crabs sitting on Chase's desk. For a team that has struggled to run the ball in TCU, and that's been one of the reasons they struggled against Kansas State, a lot of turnovers in that game, and struggled to close the game out against Arizona State, I don't think that's going to be a problem against this Baylor squad. Rivalry game in Fort Worth, at home, TCU with the better team. I get them very specifically at -2.5. I get to not have a 3. Give me TCU -2.5. They're going to win this one outright. I think I might take them. Very tempted to take them in my Survivor League. It's either this one or the next game we'll talk about. We'll get to that in a minute. Very tempted to take TCU as the last time I might actually want to take TCU in a Big 12 game this year. PJ, what would you like, sir?
I'm going to take the over in this game, you guys, 65.5. I think we get some points. I think this is a shootout. Baylor's definitely an over team with their offense and their defense. These might be my two favorite quarterbacks in the league, Robertson and Hoover, doing battle. Baylor just plays everybody close. I mean, the Auburn game was close. The SMU game was close. The Arizona State, Kansas State. I mean, all these games are down to the wire. So I think this is a great live betting game too. For people that are like TCU -3, like that feels maybe it should be a little bigger. It's a tight spread. If TCU gets up, I mean, keep an eye on betting Baylor live. I think that's definitely a way to attack the game, but I think this game's going to be a shootout. I think both teams are going to have a tough time stopping the other. Baylor's coming off a bye week, which should definitely help them score some points on this TCU defense. And then you mentioned it, Phillip, TCU struggled a little bit to run the ball, but Baylor's got a bad run defense. So I think TCU should be able to run it a little bit. Hoover should throw for a bunch of yards. I'll go over 65.5. I think it's a shootout.
Chase?
I have almost verbatim the exact same handicap as PJ. I have here written down in my notes, team that can't stop run plays team that can't run. So I do think there will be a lot of passing. I think there will be a lot of points. I have over 65.5.
When a pillow meets a soft place. On that note, speaking of soft and disappointing things, we're going to take an ad break real quick. We'll be right back. All right, we got one more morning game on the slate. It's a Power 4 game, but is it fair to almost call this a sicko game if you're actually going to put money on it? Like, it's not quite a MAC game.
Hey now. Hold your tongue, sir.
All right, I kid. Plus, you guys got to put this one on because this is the TNT game of the week. It is an 11 a.m. kickoff, as we say every week. Watch the TNT games. The pregame coverage is incredible. The game itself, the coverage, what they talk about on the field, color commentary, TN2 is doing an incredible job with the Big 12. And again, you're getting UCF West Virginia this week. It's not like they're getting great games. They got back-to-back Oklahoma State games. Okay, it's not like ESPN's like, here, have a great game, TNT. No, they're getting whatever is scraping the bottom of the barrel for the week for the Big 12. And yet, they still treat it like it's a game of the week. It is about the Big 12. It's not about like, okay, well, the game's a blowout. We better start talking about the SEC and the Big 10. No, they're going to talk about the Big 12. They're going to talk about those teams. If you just want to watch people talk about the Big 12 and act like they've actually paid attention to the Big 12 all season, watch the TNT games. Or just leave it on a TV in the room and let the dog or the cat watch it and get the numbers up so they'll keep investing because they want to keep investing and we need the money. So, TNT, 11 a.m., also HBO Max if you don't have TNT subscription. UCF versus West Virginia. It's not a rivalry, but, it kind of feels like it might be. This one should be. West Virginia recruits Florida a lot. It's not an official rivalry game. West Virginia doesn't have a rivalry game in the Big 12. All right, UCF currently a 7.5-point home favorite. Total in this one is between 46.5 and 47. PJ, you're up first, sir, this time. What would you like?
Yeah, I'm going under with these two teams, man. Now that West Virginia, we've seen Wilkins play a couple games. We know they're a run-heavy offense. That clock's just going to continue to run. UCF is a good under team as well because they don't really score all that much. So this feels like a 1st-20 kind of game to me. I'd probably lean West Virginia if I had to pick a side just because both teams are on 3-game losing streaks. So, when you have two teams struggling like this, you probably want to take the points with one before you lay it with the other. So I'd lean VU on the side, but the under would be my play in the game, 46.5. I think this is a defensive struggle game.
Sir, there's a 47.5 on the board, so I'm going to give you that.
There you go. Like that.
Yeah. All right. Chase?
I'm going to take issue with one thing you said here, Phillip, which is
just one.
No, just the one. And this is, I think, the only thing that really needs to be called out. This is not an 11 a.m. kick. This is an Eastern Standard Time team playing an Eastern Standard Time team. So you take your Central Time superiority complex, take it back to Arkansas. We don't want it over here. It's a noon game because that's when we play football on the East Coast. At noon, when you Western folks haven't woken up yet, haven't had your coffee. I'm gonna swallow hard and take the points with West Virginia. Because UCF is not a great run defense. And I have to think, as bad as this team is, if you give Rich Rod a bye week and a bad run defense to play against, he's going to figure something out, even with a tough quarterback situation. Let's call it that. I was going to be on the under here, and then it went to 7.5. And I thought, okay, if you're going to give me 7 in the hook, I'm going to take the dog. So you can give me West Virginia. And, if you pull the trigger on this, you're doing it with the understanding that maybe you get a cover and maybe they lose by 38.
Okay, so I'm very tempted. Listen, I think UCF wins this game. I just it's a home thing. If it was in Morgantown, I'd pick West Virginia. I think UCF wins this one just because it's at home. But 7.5 points is too dang many points to try and put on UCF in a game, period, end of story. Unless they're playing North Carolina again, and they're not.
This is starting to feel very like we've had this conversation before.
I'm very tempted to take UCF in my Survivor League, and just because, listen, I got to save some of the better teams, and this feels like the last chance to use UCF this season in a Survivor League. But I cannot take a side in this one. Because I don't. If you told me UCF wins by 8, I'd be like, okay. If you tell me that they win by 3, okay. Where I do feel confident is aligning myself with PG on this one and taking the under. It's two teams that don't score a lot of points. Combined, they are 4-8 to the under so far this season. I think they probably are here as well. And I'm sure there's some trend that's like, if two teams are leaning toward the under through 6 weeks, you should actually take the over in the game because I don't have any of that data, and I'm not going to try and look it up while we're sitting here recording. So I'm going to ride with the under as well. I think that's the right side because I think UCF wins. I don't feel confident in either side as far as who's going to cover or what. So under it is for this one. All right. We move to the afternoon slate. And by slate, I mean one game. One afternoon game. Could be a great game. Could be hot garbage. Going to depend on a really big factor we'll get to in a second. This, of course, is Arizona State hosting Texas Tech. Game had a lot more panache to it until Arizona State got blown up by Utah last week, but it's all right. It's all right. Texas Tech and Arizona State, that feels like a conference game. I don't know what it is about Arizona and Texas Tech, but Texas Tech versus a team from Arizona feels like a conference game because Texas Tech is so close to the state of Arizona, West Texas. And they claim everything is West Texas, and the tumbleweeds blow from Lubbock all the way to Tucson and Phoenix and so on and so forth. This one, again, 3 p.m. God's time kickoff, the right time, on Fox, Big Fox for this one. I don't know what that is in you Easterners time. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not in my nomenclature. I don't.
It's already Sunday over here.
Things. I figured as much. Right now, Texas Tech 7.5 point favorite. Total in this one 52.5. There's some 52s. There's a couple 51.5s. There's a few options if the total is on your card for today. Chase, you are up first, or what would you like in this one?
I would like, just a sidebar on the Arizona State Texas Tech thing. I would like to make a subdivision in the Big 12 that is, I think it would be, I'm not trying to be insulting to anybody here. I think it would be Texas Tech, Arizona State, West Virginia, and maybe UCF would be the fourth. And this is the hard partying division of the Big 12.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I went to a frat party at Oklahoma State one time. I've heard Arizona has some decent looks, but that would be my 4 probably. I'm projecting a little bit on UCF. I could be wrong there. I don't know. Maybe that's
Orlando. Yeah, they call their football stadium the Bounce House, so I think it'd be a good party scene.
Just a lot of powder down
there. This feels like a trophy that needs to be won. Who wins the most games of the 4 of them? And it's literally just like a milk jug of whiskey.
I was because the Armed Forces guys have the Commander-in-Chief trophy, and then the Big 12 can have the keg stand. I don't know. It's just a bronze guy that's upside down. Anyway, I didn't do that in college for sure. I know nothing about that.
What is
Anyway,
a keg stand, Chase? What is that?
I don't even know. I assume it's a stand you put a keg on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the same thing I said last week, which is I will stop slamming Texas Tech minus the points on this podcast when they give me a reason not to. And maybe Morton getting hurt ends up being a reason not to, but I'm going to need to feel the heat on that stove before I take my hand off. So give me Texas Tech -7.
Okay. Just as an update, having checked this before we started recording, according to CBS Sports, Matt Zenit, Sam Levitt is likely to play this weekend. Shocker, I know. He missed last week's loss to Utah with a right foot injury, but has practiced every day this week. I'm not sure how close to 100% he is, but I'm not shocked that they're like, nah, he's well enough. We're going to put him out there. Like, shoot him up, get him out there, tape the foot good. We're good to go. Meanwhile,
I also felt
Texas
like
Tech,
last week was just a punt, right? Like they just looked at the Utah game and said, okay, this is not a perfect situation, but we got to have him next week if we want to have any chance of beating Texas Tech and having the tiebreaker. So,
yeah,
like we're just waving the white flag on this Utah game.
We can't lose to Utah and Texas Tech. We've got to try and win one of these games. Texas Tech quarterback Baron Morton is expected to be listed as questionable when the Big 12 availability report is released. That would be tonight, according to On3. At time of recording, which is 8:39 p.m. God's time, we're about 21 minutes away from that report actually dropping on the website when it's expected to be dropped. I don't know if he'll play or not. I can't imagine he's 100% either. And so it throws this whole game, like, it's hard to sit here and be like, I can read all the stats, and they all favor Texas Tech covering a 7.5 line. And I think if you had a knowingly healthy Baron Morton in this game, this line would be bigger to the Texas Tech side than just 7.5. Listen, Texas Tech, I would expect Baron Morton to play, even if he can't play the whole game. We saw last week with Will Hammond, and guess what? It didn't matter because that defense is just gross. I would lean towards the under in this one because I think the two best units on the field are the Arizona State and Texas Tech defense, and then the Texas Tech offense, and then probably some Texas Tech special teams, and then Arizona State offense, and then Arizona State offense. So, like, I think the under, I would probably lean toward it, despite what some of the, even the projections here, there's a couple of 55s, but everything else has under a 52.5. But I'm going to go ahead and ride Texas Tech, and we're going to ride them the rest of the season. I don't care if they don't cover a game. They're going to cover most scores, most of the numbers this series. So Texas Tech -7.5 as well. PJ?
Yeah, I'm going under. I'm going under 52.5. If I had to play the side, I'd be with you guys on the Texas Tech side, but I do like the under in the game because, look, even if Levitt plays, even if Morton plays, I think John Mateer showed us in Red River last week, just because your quarterback plays, if they're hurt, it really doesn't mean much. It actually might be a detriment to your team if he's out there and he's hurt and he's hobbled. Whatever it might be. I also think the fact that Arizona State just played Utah and Dampier definitely will help them with a Texas Tech team that wants to run, especially if it is Hammond and they want to do some of that zone read stuff with Dickey. So that's good. And then Texas Tech just faced Jalen Daniels in Kansas. So we know Levitt's a guy that wants to scramble around and make plays. But look, Texas Tech is the best defense in the Big 12, one of the best in the country. Arizona State, very good, especially at home. This is going to be, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. So I like under 52.5. I think what's been interesting, this line was as big as 11.5 when it looked like Levitt might not play. Now it's down to 7.5, but that total's only gone from 51.5 to 52.5, right? So I don't think the total is really getting as much looks as the spread is, because when people think quarterbacks, it's all about, the quarterbacks obviously affect how many points the team is going to win by and what the spread should be. So I think the fact that total's only gone up a point while the spread has moved 4, pretty telling. And I think it's a low scoring game. So I like under 52.5.
Texas Tech, number 1 in stop rate in the country this season. Max Olson at ESPN. Love that stop rate stat. Number 1. It's Texas Tech, the under. I think those are the two right sides. So this feels like one of those ones where it's not a consensus, but we all are probably going to be sitting here enjoying being winners after Saturday. Okay, we do have 2 night games in the Big 12. We're going to save the worst for last because we're going to go to one of the best rivalry games in the country. This one is, get your Cougar tails, get your Dr. Pepper, get your ice cream, get your milkshake, sit on down on the couch, park it, and enjoy your night. 7 p.m. God's time kickoff on Fox. BYU, Utah. This one's going to be played in Provo. This is last year we had no expectations because Utah wasn't very good, and it was an incredible game. Now Utah comes into an undefeated BYU who we're still not that sure about, and Utah has been phenomenal outside of essentially one quarter against Texas Tech. What a game we have in store. At the moment, Utah, 3.5 point road favorite in Provo. Total 49.5. I got to go first here. We'll run through the projections. Everyone's got Utah favored. The smallest number is SP Plus at Utah by 0.5 point. The biggest number is Parker at Utah 0.74. Otherwise, we've got a 6.5 from Tishu. We've got a 5.99 from Beta. Everything sides with Utah, which statistically, looking at what Utah's done this year and looking at what BYU has done this year, makes a ton of sense. But this is a rivalry game, and we've got a few other stats we got to through. Look, Utah's offense, the defense, not as good as it has been in years past, but this offense. The Utah offense has converted 28 of 29 red zone trips into scores, and 25 of those have been touchdowns. The offense has been phenomenal rate. That 86% touchdown rate is good for number 3 in the country. It's incredible. However, we got to go to the stat. Y'all know the stat because it's BYU After Dark. Since 2019, BYU has played in 45 games that kicked off at 6 p.m. or later. They are 39-6 straight up in those games. 17-18 in games kicked off before 6 o'clock. What time does this game kick off, folks? Oh, yeah, it's 6 o'clock or later. Now, the against the score record in those games isn't nearly as good as the straight up record, but BYU is the dog in this game, so that doesn't matter. Because they just seem to have some at-night magic, especially at home. By the way, 6 of the last 7 of these have gone under. I am having a really hard time with this side. I'm really struggling because Utah is the better team. But it's a rivalry game, and we have the BYU at-night stat. And I know it's just like a coincidental stat, but it's 39-6 straight up. And they're a dog. My head says it says Utah. My heart says take BYU. My gut is telling me, dude, take the under 49.5. 6 of the last 7 have gone under. You don't feel that confident in either side. I'm going to ride with under 49.5 in this one. I know Utah's offense is awesome. I think the defense is still pretty good. I really still just don't trust BYU. Because to me, if BYU wins this one, it's not because it's a shootout. It's because it's a low-scoring, ugly game. They find a way to win close. I'm going to take the under 49.5. PJ.
I like your look with the under. The line, I think, is telling you to bet Utah for sure. But I do like BYU in the game, and that would be my side to take the home dog. Again, you said the Holy War. I mean, a terrific rivalry whenever these teams get together. Usually it's a good idea to bet the home dog in this series. The concern that I have for Utah, you guys, every game that they've played in this year has been lopsided. UCLA 43-10, Cal Poly 63-9, Wyoming 31-6, Texas Tech 34-10, West Virginia 48-14, Arizona State 42-10. They have not played a fourth quarter game. They really haven't played a second half game. Meanwhile, BYU, we know all their games, right, the last few weeks have come down. Colorado came down to the end, obviously double overtime against Arizona. So game like this, when it's a rivalry, teams know each other so well, it's probably going to be low scoring. It's probably going to be close. Here we are 7-8 weeks into the season, and you have a Utah team that really hasn't experienced a close fourth quarter game, and they're going on the road. I think that's a bad recipe. So If you like Utah, I kind of maybe would look at alts, like -6.5, -9.5. Like, I think if Utah wins, they might win by double digits. Whereas if BYU wins, or if they cover, I think they win outright. But I'll take the 3.5 with BYU, even though it feels like you might be walking into a trap. Just the fact Utah hasn't played a close game scares me. So I'll take the Cougars.
I will push back a bit on the no close game. You can make the argument that one close game they played, they got blown out in, because it was 13-10 with 10:22 left in the fourth quarter against Texas Tech. And then Texas Tech scored 3 touchdowns to end that game and pulled away to make the game final score look way more dominant than that game actually was for almost the entirety of the game. And that was at home. So, like, if you want to, you could say Utah in a close game blew it. But also, we don't want to hold against teams when they get beat by Texas Tech, because Texas Tech is so good. So, I think the points and all that are very accurate on your part. Chase, what are your thoughts? What do you got on this game?
I think BYU is going to be able to run the ball. Kind of like you, Phillip, I landed in the place where I just didn't want to be involved with the side here, even though this line has kind of trended toward 3.5 in the last few hours since I sat down and really nailed down my notes. So I think I would maybe lean, BYU plus the points, but I'm going to be on the under as well. I just think I was a little shocked when I saw it was 49.5. That seemed a bit high to me for a rivalry game like this that's going to be really intense, and I think it's going to be led with defense. So give me the under. I think the trend there is telling, and maybe this is a touch too high. Maybe it should be closer to like a 46.
Chase, have we? Okay, that's our second straight agree. I was like, man, it feels like got a lot of 2 versus 1. No consensus so far. Maybe we'll have one here. Our last game in the Big 12.
What would that be, I wonder?
I wonder if it could be the game involving the worst team in the Big 12 conference this season. That, of course, is Oklahoma State. It's homecoming weekend. There's going to be a lot to enjoy. Probably not the football game. They are hosting Cincinnati, the so far surprise team in the Big 12 this season. 7 p.m. kickoff. You got what, on a 3-something o'clock on SEC Network? That's right. ESPN2 at 7 o'clock. Oklahoma State versus Cincinnati. The Bearcats are a 21.5-point road favorite. Total in this one is, okay, there's a 54. That's not real. It's 57.5, 58. There's some weird numbers here. It's mostly 57.5. If you want to play with the total, you might not want to. PJ, you are up first, sir. What would you like in this one?
I'm actually going to take your pokes, Phillip. I like Oklahoma State plus the points, plus 21.5. It's really just a fade of Cincinnati. Are we really sure that Cincinnati's ready to cover 3 touchdowns on the road? I know Oklahoma State's bad, but now they got the number next to their name, right? Something you always look to fade when that team becomes unranked and they become ranked for the first time and they're starting to get that national recognition. We saw they were big favorites against UCF at home last week. That didn't go too well for them. Like, Cincinnati just is not built to beat teams by margin. I mean, Sorsby's a terrific quarterback. They have a good defense. They have some nice players on offense. It's just a fade of Cincinnati. There are certain teams that I just would not lay big numbers with because they're just not used to that kind of expectation and winning by that kind of margin. And Cincinnati's one of them, especially on the road. So Oklahoma State would actually be the look for me in the game. Like you said, it's homecoming. They have nothing to lose. They should have a decent crowd there cheering them on. We're probably going to need some help from the Bearcats, a couple turnovers, missed field goals, those kind of things. But, if this was like Utah or if this was TCU or Texas Tech, certainly, and they were laying a big number, no problem. Like Cincinnati, Kansas, like these kind of teams, I can't get there. So I'll go Oklahoma State plus the points.
Okay. Chase?
That was just a really well thought out, well crafted handicap from PJ. A lot of good points in there about, fading a team right after they pop into that bottom part of the top 25. It's just a really, really sharp handicap. I'm going to lay 21.5 points with Cincinnati.
Knew that was coming.
Yeah. Because we've done this every week for a few weeks now, and I'm done taking the points with Oklahoma State. I can't do it anymore. It just seems like you show up in Stillwater and you start the game with 40 points. I mean, Houston scored 40 points against these people. So they're 37 or whatever it was. So I can't do it anymore. If I get burnt, I get burnt. Obviously, I mean, like, here's your weekly reminder. This is not a bet I would make in real life. Obviously, I'm sure this is not a bet PJ would make in real life, but I don't know. Maybe it is.
No,
Maybe
it is not.
You're taking points. So that's a little bit different. I certainly would not lay 21.5 on the road in a spot like this, but for the show, yeah, I will lay it with Cincinnati. By the way, Cincinnati, I laid it with Cincinnati last week in the UCF game. And if you did not watch that game, it was, first of all, back to Phillip's point earlier about like not every low scoring game is ugly, unwatchable, and boring. It was a pretty interesting game for a game with 30 points of total offense. There was a lot of weird stuff that happened in it, including UCF basically like negative variance out their butt on fourth down for most of the game. Just a bunch of decent drives that stalled out on bad fourth down plays. And then they have this monster, I think it was a 19-play, 92-yard drive for like 8.5 minutes in the last part of the fourth quarter to get inside the number. And I was like, nobody's ever going to talk about this, but like, what a drive. What a drive for some assistant coach's wife that had UCF plus the points, because that was sick.
What's most frustrating about that game is it's 17-3 at halftime, and you're like, all right, we're good. And then Cincinnati scores 3 points in the second half, and you just sit here and go like, what are you guys doing? But they also had a total of 4 possessions in the second half, because UCF had a 9-minute drive in the third quarter that went 40 yards and ended with a punt. That, like, Army looks at that and goes, what the are you guys doing? Like, what is this?
Western Ohio, that is Big Ten country.
Their touchdown drive, to reiterate for you, was 19 plays, 90 yards, 7 minutes.
And it ended with like 90 seconds left in the game. It was awesome. It was the kind of thing that, like,
you 2 minutes left. No, there was 2 minutes left.
You could do 100 segments on College Football Final and not get to UCF's 90-yard cover drive at the end of the Cincinnati game, because it just didn't matter. But it was really something.
I have this drive is so gross too. Oh man. Oh,
anyway, I didn't mean to take us down a rabbit hole.
No,
but it
I
was,
should have read. That's a drive chart that should have been read on the podcast Monday. Okay, I gotta make my pick. I'll make this easy. SP plus Cincinnati minus 21.6. T-Shoe Cincinnati minus 24.5. FEI Cincinnati minus 20.4. Beta Cincinnati minus 36.99. Parker Cincinnati minus 20.2. Pair Cincinnati minus 22.6. K Ford Cincinnati with a 91% chance to win. It's homecoming. Doug Meacham has given up play calling duties to the quarterback coach. They'll throw out some trick stuff. They'll score a touchdown. Maybe they'll score 2. The defense won't be able to stop anything. Cincinnati should cover this one. But what I'm going to do, because it kind of feels like what's happened the last few times Oklahoma State's been at home, is they score just enough points to push that total over. So I'm going to take the over 57.5. I know it's dangerous with Cincinnati's offense, but y'all, Houston's offense put up 40 points on this defense in Stillwater. I would love to see another giant 2 or 3 sections of the stadium with shirtless dudes, just because it's funny. Doesn't matter. I'm taking the over. I don't love the hook on the 21.5. 21, I might think about it. This game's going to go over, so I'll take the over in this one. All right, we wrap up the show each week the exact same way. Everyone gets to pick one non-Big 12 game of their choosing. The board is wide open. You can take any game, any side, any whatever random thing. If you want to talk about some team on the East Coast because of the current crab shortage or whatever, I don't care. You're welcome to do so. Chase, you get to go first here, Crab Man. What's going to be?
Only a couple weeks away, and we can bet on Maryland Eastern Shore men's basketball. We're so close.
Hey, man.
We're so close. I placed Monday night a limit bet at 2 different sports books for Tulsa, East Carolina, under 54.5.
Under 54.5? Okay. Is that the total right now? I'm scrolling up.
Believe so. Last I saw.
Yes. Under 54.5. All right. That's a choice. Okay. I have a bunch of different ones written down here. I loved Missouri when Auburn was favored, but now Missouri is a favorite, and so I'm going to back away from that one. All the stats say you should take Maryland against UCLA, but at this point, do I trust Maryland going cross-country to a UCLA team that actually seems like it has, in the month of October, zombified out of its grave and come back and just eating the brains of everyone that it faces? No, I do not. So I'm not going to touch that one even just because UCLA is favored by more than a field goal. And so I'm not going to touch that either. And now I got to go look and say there is one that's interesting. There's two that are very interesting to me that I have to talk about. One of them is another dog that I do not understand. But I'm very tempted to stay away because I swore that I would not deal with the team that they're facing. Georgia Tech is a 1.5-point dog on the road at Duke, but every time I've touched the Duke game, it's bit me in the butt. But I think we have a WTF situation. But I'm going to take a different one. And I am following a trend, even though I'm afraid the trend might fail in this situation, but I'm going to do it. There is a trend where if you win as a dog, in a top 25 matchup, and are a favorite the following week. Since 2021, 15-26 against the spread, failing to cover by a field goal per game, 23-40 against the spread the last 2 seasons. There is one team this week that fits that category as a dog in a top 25 matchup who went on to win and is a favorite the next week. It is Indiana, favored by 27.5 against Michigan State, who just got whooped by UCLA. Curt Cignetti likes to run up the score in games, especially in games where they have the opportunity to do so. He does not take his foot off the pedal. That is what concerns me about this trend in this game. It's not a normal team who's going to be like, all right, we were up by 17. We're good. Let's just pack it in and let's go home. He's going to be like, what? We're only up by 17? There's 3 minutes left. Let's go score 3 touchdowns. Ha ha ha. But with it being 27.5, I'm going to go ahead and ride with Michigan State plus 27.5. The last time I did one of these trends, it worked for me. It's dangerous because of Cignetti, but I'm going to roll with it. Give me Michigan State plus 27.5 versus Indiana.
Yeah,
PJ.
that's brave, man.
That is brave. Stepping in front
really
of that
brave.
train. Cignetti
is
I couldn't do
lethal right now.
I couldn't do it.
I know.
It's very sharp. I'll give you that.
It is.
Very
I
sharp.
like the handicap, but
it's a great trend. It's just a bad situation with the trend. But the problem is every other game I liked, I don't like anymore because I don't like the Missouri being a favorite over Missouri. I liked it over Auburn. I liked it better when Auburn was a favorite. I'm not touching UCLA, Maryland because it scares me. I mean, if not, I'm going with Georgia Tech as a dog on the road to Duke because I just don't understand why Duke is favored.
So,
well, I'll tell you.
Go ahead, Chase.
I said it on PJ's show earlier today. I have Duke minus 120 in pocket right now.
So, see, I don't want to touch that one either. So,
and Phillip, I think I might sway you maybe on Missouri and Auburn. This might be like the most fascinating game we've had all year from a betting standpoint, I think. This is Missouri's first road game of the season, boys, on
Which is
Saturday.
insane.
They haven't played a road game yet. I've had this game circled all season. I'm like, oh my God, Missouri going down to the Plains, tough place to play, first road game, off the Bama game. Can't wait to fade them. But if Penn State has showed us anything, the ultimate thing to fade is when a team is just cooked. And for people that watch the Auburn game against Georgia, I think you watched that game and you watched Auburn's season end in front of your eyes, right? They're up 10-0. Arnold's going for the QB sneak. It should have been a touchdown. They call it a fumble. Georgia scores 20 unanswered. They win the game. They had a team captain quit this week. Like, it just feels like it's collapsing. And to your point, Phillip, Auburn was a 2.5-point favorite because I think a lot of people were like, Missouri's first road game, great spot to fade them. But then you think about the Georgia game, you see that team captain quit, and you're just like, oh, the vibe. Like, Auburn is just a ticking time bomb. Like, this thing could get ugly real fast. So I think it's so fascinating because Missouri is going to struggle. But Auburn, I think, is a fade right now. So I do like Auburn, or I do like Missouri in the game.
You've convinced me.
There you go.
I have to. I'm going to be really mad when Auburn wins and Michigan State or Indiana doesn't cover. I'm going to be like, you guys, but it's fine. It's fine. Because I like, I get the Auburn stuff, but like he is one more loss. So like they're 3-3. Freeze is not surviving this season.
No.
And I think it's not. Like you're going to lose at home to Missouri. You're going to go on the road and screw it against Arkansas. And then he's going to be gone.
100%. And then the other game in the SEC that I like Mississippi State this week. Florida has played 4 top 10 teams in a row, fellas. LSU, Miami. They've played A&M. They've played Texas. 4 weeks in a row. You've seen some of the best teams in the country. Now you're at home as a 10-point favorite against Mississippi State. There are reports that Napier, regardless of what happens, might be fired. I don't know, man. You go through a gauntlet like that, and then all of a sudden you're a big favorite. And we saw what Florida did to USF when they were a big favorite at home, looking ahead to all those SEC games. Mississippi State is a lot better than most of us thought, and they're coming off a bye. So I like Mississippi State in that game as well.
Is that your pick for this one?
Yeah, I'll go Mississippi State.
That's a good one. A plus 9.5. Okay, the other shout out to the guys over at okay, hold on. I'm going to get the show name wrong and I hate it, but they do, hold on. I have to pull it up. I'll feel bad if I say the wrong show name. I listen every week. College football picks and predictions on the BetUS show. They do a great job. I'm stealing this one from them, but I want to shout it out because I thought it was really interesting. Tennessee, Alabama. And I did put a couple bucks on this one. Taking the first half over the total. Heupel teams really good in the first half, second nationally in first half scoring. Alabama is 11th. Both teams not great in the second half. Heupel is 23-13 to the over in the first half when the number is 32 or lower. Full game spread under 14, 19-7 to the over. I think the first half over in that game is take it. I was very tempted to take that in this one as well, but I had all these other ones. I had so many options. And so I put a couple bucks down on the first half over in that game because I think that's it. And it's a solid.
I love it.
I also have that bet.
I love it.
In the account. Yep.
That's a great look. That's a great look. Good. Something, too, to keep in mind for your listeners for next week. If Bama wins that game against Tennessee, you have to take South Carolina next week against Alabama. Because if they win that game and they beat 4 straight ranked teams in a row, Georgia, Vandy, Missouri, Tennessee. It's so DeBoer, like it hurts, that they would win all those games, and then he goes on the road and they lay an egg against South Carolina. Like,
Speaking of alma maters, where'd you go?
As somebody who went to school there, like, I'm telling you guys, just keep that on your radar. I mean, we saw it against Florida State. We saw it against Oklahoma last year. I like your first half overlook, though. But if they win that game, I promise you, I will have South Carolina money line in pocket next week.
All right. I want to wrap up on this. We talk about, fading Oklahoma State the rest of the way. I want you two to predict what is the opening line on Sunday for Texas Tech hosting Oklahoma State?
With Morton playing?
I don't know that matters that much, but sure.
Let's assume Morton plays.
36.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 35.5. Yeah, it's right around that 5 touchdown, right around there.
I definitely think it's that hook. Like they're gonna go just past. It's not gonna be 35, 34.5. It's gonna be just at that. Oh yeah. Okay.
I have one more prediction.
Would the better
though.
play to be lay it with Texas Tech or just bet the Oklahoma State team total under at like 7.5 or something?
That's a good question. On the road.
Bet the.
God. Okay. I just want to bring up.
I wonder if you can one game parlay that.
The one of the lowest points of all time for Texas Tech is the meme that gets shown all the time. Is the Texas Tech fan with his head down and the 2 guns up as they've lost to Oklahoma State 66-6 at home back in 2011. We may have a reverse meme. We may have a reverse meme next week for whatever sad Oklahoma State fan goes like, I'll go to Lubbock to watch this game. That'll be great. Sure. You guys, it's been a lot of fun. PJ, you've been fantastic. I can't wait to get you back on. Do me a favor. Plug it all, man. Where can we catch all the work you do covering college football?
Yeah, you guys can check out my show, Send It In on the BetMGM network, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern time every Monday through Friday. We're streaming on Twitch, on YouTube, live on X as well. So only a 30-minute show, no commercial break, fast pace. Chase is on there every Wednesday. So yeah, check out Send It In on the BetMGM network. Appreciate you guys having me. This was a lot of fun.
You were a great guest. Shout out to Chase for having you on. Of course, we'll have Chase's picks for this week in the show notes, so go check that out and click it. Listen, you can still join the Battle Bets League. It's fun. You can bet and not spend any real money, and that's a great way to bet because it doesn't cost you anything except, a good time. So we'll be back on Monday to recap the weekend that was. Thank you all. Enjoy the games this weekend. Talk to y'all later.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.